One, two, three.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops.
Yes, so many cops are on the tick. What do you expect when they use tear gas and tanks? Whether in a car or on a horse, cops don't mind using excessive force.
Bad cops, bad cops.
What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops.
What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops.
What you gonna do?
Bad cops, bad cops.
This is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I have to be like real frank. I was very skeptical about having a segment on our show that it felt like possibly intentionally divisive to like, you know, try to, you know, separate people more.
Yeah.
But the fact that it exists at all is really telling about how policing is done in this country and how civilians of really any color, how civilians view policing in this country. So, you know, we've had this segment since the very beginning, and then we get another national news story where it's almost like you want to believe that having a segment like this is unnecessary or irrelevant, but then the police keep it relevant. They keep giving us new fodder for this segment, and that in and of itself, I find to be very disturbing and disappointing.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up that this was going on. And this is what for this today, we're going to show you a special thing. We're going to show you this a list of all these cops within these institutions doing stuff without off duty, on duty, just doing bad stuff and not being held accountable. So this is the first thing. This police union president pretty much has been charged for sexual abuse, sexual assault of minors for years. If Phil can play this clip real quick and pretty much show you what's going on in Boston. This is a bad cop over here. I don't hear all lives matter with this, but this was going on in Boston.
WBZ's Mike LaCrosse is in West Roxbury with the story. Mike?
Paula, good afternoon. Patrick Rose is facing more than a dozen new charges. Rose was initially arrested last week.
Nice to get higher volume.
Police in charge with several offenses, including indecent assault and battery on a child under 14. The new charges include statutory rape of a child and indecent assault and battery on a child under 14, dating back to 1991. Rose was not in court this morning, but appeared before a judge at West Roxbury District.
Yeah, the audio is a little low in the video.
The judge added $20,000 to Rose's initial $250,000.
It's low for us and for everyone from the audience.
Stay away from the victims and wear a GPS device. Rose is due back in court on September 23rd. Reporting live in Boston this noon time, I'm Mike LaCrosse, WBZ News.
So it just shows you not only the audio is low because these stories are buried in YouTube. This happened a day ago. We saw multiple charges, dozens of charges since 1991. He's the police union president. He's been around law enforcement that long. This was happening. No one's doing nothing. There you go. Where are the good cops when that was happening? Huh? They're worried about black people doing stuff. This is what I'm talking about. Next segment.
Do you know what that reminds me of?
Yeah.
Is when the protests were happening here in New York and the president of the New York Police Benevolency Association, their union, were talking about how we're treating the officers like animals.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, if you like, the thing is, like, people are not like creating animated shorts of police brutalizing people and then pointing to like fake shit.
Yeah.
Like, we've got real live footage of people who are dead. And in the case of the young man that was just killed, he wasn't killed, Mr. Blake.
Yeah.
He's now paralyzed from the waist down. So, you know, they shot him a bunch of times and, for whatever reason, he's still alive today. But, you're worried about, your morale is low. Well, raise your fucking standards.
Yeah, exactly.
And then people will trust you like they used to do, years and years ago.
Yeah. So what if you're a cop and something happens? So this next clip pretty much shows you another cop is actually suing another police department for wrongful arrest, pretty much. So what happens when this happens, pretty much? What can a cop do with this situation?
Has filed a $10 million lawsuit against the Warren Police Department, claiming he was wrongfully arrested.
Donald Owens says he was also discriminated against during the whole ordeal. Let's get to Grant Herms. He's live tonight. Grant, the police report paints a pretty different picture here.
That report paints Officer Owens as belligerent, non-compliant, and allegedly drunk. Now, Officer Owens, who's been a police officer here in Detroit for 5 years, says that's not what happens.
They lied about another cop.
Officers lied on that report.
In an afternoon press conference, Detroit police officer Donald Owens announcing he's suing the Warren Police Department for $10 million after he says he was wrongfully arrested last November. According to a police report, there was a car accident in Owens' yard at his home in Warren. According to police, Owens refused to give his name or occupation when asked. Officers say they could smell alcohol on Owens' breath and told him he could be arrested for disorderly conduct and asked Owens for his name again. Owens allegedly replying, "Go ahead, lock me up." But Owens and his attorney say that's not what happened.
The officer arrested him basically made up some charges in order to justify arresting him.
While he was arrested, Owens says he was also abused and not given medical treatment when he asked for it.
I was polite the entire time, professional, and they took me to the precinct where another one of their coworkers verbally disrespected me and assaulted me. Abused me.
This isn't the first accusation of racism within Warren Police. In 2018, the department's then only black officer sued for discrimination. And just this year, a Warren officer was caught on camera pulling a black Amazon driver from his truck for parking in the wrong direction. Advocates for Owens say his arrest is part of that pattern.
It's the racist white trouble that Warren visits upon black folks, whether they live there or visit there.
Now, ultimately, this will get played out in court, but Owens' attorneys said today they'll likely be calling for a federal investigation into Warren PD and their practices. Back to you.
All right, Grant.
So there you go. There's another example,
But you know what fucks me up, though? We're not hearing enough from the black police officers that are on various forces around the country. What this officer is saying, that I can't say whether I believe him or I don't believe him about him being, verbally and physically abused.
Or like
what
Waffles is saying, like he's on his own property, pretty much.
Right, but I have to defer to what he says, the account that happens. But when the black police officer walks the beat, are they walking down the street believing that their fellow white officers are just treating everybody with professionalism and courtesy and respect? Can we count on them to step up and say, you know what, what's wrong is wrong? Like we saw that one woman in one of those police
when the clip,
one of those police departments that she yanked the white officer off of
in
the black
Buffalo.
guy. That was Buffalo, New York, wasn't it?
It was Buffalo. Yeah, I remember that story.
She yanks him, and she gives him that verbal tongue action. But
they took her pension. They did something crazy. Like
no, the one we saw. No, I'm talking about during the protest. The officer you're talking about. There is no video evidence.
No, that
of
was
what
way
happened.
back.
Yeah, that's way back. They played her. They played the long con with her to make sure that they took her pension mere months before she made her 20 years. So they fully intended to take a shit on her for petty reasons. But during the riots after George Floyd was killed, there was one police officer who witnessed a white police officer trying to go buck wild on a protester, and she did everything but fuck that guy up.
Yeah.
But when I see that this guy is saying, hey, these things happened to me, I wonder what position he was taking before it happened to him.
The Detroit police officer that
because you would think that there would be some sort of professional courtesy. Hey, you're over here, you're the Warren police. Well, I'm part of the
Detroit
police. The Detroit police force, right?
Oh, you city boy cop, whatever.
Yeah. Or maybe they're
racist
telling
things
them
was
that he's
going
lying
on.
about being a police officer. We don't know how, they're being an asshole to this guy. But I think another thing that really fucks me up about his situation and all these situations since George Floyd, like all of these police officers, they have the internet, right? They have televisions.
Allegedly.
They can see that other officers are taking a huge public hit every single
but they're
time.
still getting paid.
They're still doing it.
But they can kill someone and get paid leave and still barbecue sandwiches and stuff like that while they after they kill somebody. So it's like there's
So they're barbecuing black people and then they barbecue sandwiches.
Yeah, pretty much. This is what happens when these police do this stuff. They're not going to jail. They're not being put in holdings. There's no kind of criminal aspect to it. It's just like it's like a paid vacation sometimes when they do this stuff. So when it happens, they're just okay, I'm just gonna hang out with my family. It's like this is just what they think is gonna happen when they kill people pretty much on duty. So
it's weird. It's like, hey, let me just pull out my gun from my holster because I'm overworked and I haven't had a day off in 6 weeks. It's time to go on vacation.
Yeah, pretty much, and get